Go ahead. Now
Okay.
let's talk about what you have researched, and if you need to share your screen, please do so.
Yeah. So I kind of just the things that I found are more so introductory level. And I'm still finding more that are useful. Some of the things that I found are pretty lengthy sources, so I'm kind of trying to root through those and find what is useful and kind of what doesn't really pertain to what I'm kind of thinking of. Um, but I found a few solid ones that just kind of discuss more so how things in the transportation industry are kind of playing out currently.
Okay,
So, like, one talks about.
would you go up a little bit? I want to look at your sections first, what you
Sure.
have set up first. I want to understand what your overall understanding is as
Yeah.
to how you want to design this article. So in the introduction, you want to provide a breakdown of globalized marketplace, the effect on the earth while growing our own capabilities. And then the
Yeah.
first section looks into current trends, what transportation styles are most popular, how does the growth of transportation industry look in the US and the global market, how has the carbon emissions, GHG emissions, okay, being affected by the growth of the globalized economy, working towards being carbon neutral, case study, very nice.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I like the overall setup. So this is, um, again, the way I look at this is you are trying to fixate yourself into the transportation side, right? Like we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me see if I can take control of your screen
Sure.
a little bit. Okay, did you allow control to me?
Yeah, I
Yes, you
just did.
did. I can see that. Okay. Um, and this is not anywhere close to being written in stone, but it's good to envision what a title for this project ought to be. Okay, and so one way of looking into it maybe um, um, and I'm just thinking out loud. That's why I'm recording this session.
Sure.
Okay, just something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it calls for an interesting title then. Greening the global supply chains. That's basically what the broader context it is. And then, as you can see, I put in columns that basically tells you the greening of the global supply chain can happen in so many different areas.
Mm-hmm.
What you are specifically looking into is carbon footprint management in the transportation systems or in transportation systems. So that can be a very nice title of your work. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, that's kind of along the lines of exactly
Of
what I'm
what you have been
doing, so it
thinking, right?
definitely works.
So
Yeah.
introduction is breakdown of globalized marketplace, the effect on the earth while growing our own capabilities. Make sure that introduction chimes straight with the transportation side of how logistics connects the globe
Mm-hmm.
and how important it is. So this is where you can uh, bring in some statistics in the context of the average transit time that a
Mm-hmm.
material in the supply chain goes through. Okay, so do some research on that, and those will be the starting points of your discussion. That as much as in the manufacturing world, we are married to the idea of the production process. The the reality is global supply chains are run by companies from around the globe that manufacture parts that all come together to create the final product. And the movement of these parts is the most critical element of that supply chain management, because it's the movement of this part that dictates um, time to market. Okay, so good. I'm recording all of this because if you ask me to repeat these, I'll be lost. Okay, that is the exact reason why I'm recording this. Um, and I'm always very good the first time. Second time I mess up. So time to market maybe, and that can be a good way of introducing the idea. And so um, section then comes your section one, where you look into current trends, transportation styles, growth of transportation industry in the US, in the global market, forms of transportation, all of that jazz. Okay. um, Section 2, I like it. How has been affected by the growth of the globalized economy, benefits of working towards being carbon neutral. This is where um, you would want to um, examples of some carbon footprint models. Okay, you would want to, and I'm just going to put in, go to Google Scholar and type carbon footprint um, optimization models, and you'll have more than enough that you can ever work with. Okay, there's too much out there. So choose a couple examples, see if you can understand some of the basics of it, and explain that of how that is done. Case study examples of companies doing well or bad. I'll give you an my 2 cents here. One that you should definitely look at is Subaru of Subaru. Okay.
Aren't they
Um,
the zero waste one?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So what they have done, and they have that case study very clearly on their website somewhere. Um, uh, More than zero waste. Zero waste is uh, more into the production side of the process. Okay, so the, well, no. I take it back. So zero waste has two parts to it. One is how you recycle your materials within the production facility, and then what do you do with what has been used. So Subaru's story is very interesting because they bring a lot of styrofoam packed materials, right? They call it thermocol, which is the common name across the world except for the US. The US we call it styrofoam. And so they package your materials in thermocol and then they ship it, but then they didn't know what to do with the thermocol. The thermocol has a long shelf life. It can be reused at least 5-6 times. And so they took the initiative of shipping just the empty thermocol back to Japan. And initially, that was comprehended as a waste opportunity, but in reality, they did the math and they figured that they break even in 2 cycles of movement, and they have 3 cycles of profit in the process of reusing the thermocol. And so these are some basic examples of utilizing um, um, uh, movement of transportation, if you will, and uh, eliminating certain um, routes and ensuring that there is only a single route through which the movement is done, that um, minimizes the travel itself. And of course, you are doing this by a ship, which is the least carbon footprint of all. And so that then takes care of. Uh, oh man, I was looking at a certain angle, and I'm getting old. That's what's happening. So So that is one good example. The other one that you would want to look at is specific to um, uh, do some research with either FedEx or DHL, and see what some of these, or UPS, and see how they are managing um, their carbon footprint reduction. UPS is a great example. I think they have a very strong um, mindset with carbon footprint reduction, and so you can probably provide a couple of other case studies.
Sure.
And then current efforts in place to reimagine the future of transportation. This is essentially, you know, looking forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just based off of them, um, then you conclude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of figured that section 4 would be the smallest one. Kind of like how we talked about last time. There's kind of an offhanging of what would be the best way. We don't necessarily know, but this is where we stand currently, kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Because a lot of what I'm finding is how it talks about like in the past 10 years what carbon emissions have been at and how they used to operate.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of them are current programs and new policies and things like that that they're implementing. So I think that'd be a nice conclusion as far as all of this goes
Yep,
into
yep, 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 yep,
wrapping it up.
yep. And let me see if I can quickly scroll through your. This is what you have collected. This is what you have been researching, right?
Yeah, these are some things that I found to
Fast
be,
facts, yeah. Yeah, and this
yeah.
will go very nicely into your introduction piece, the
Mm,
first part here. Um, and this is we just talked about this maritime shipping is more sustainable,
mhm.
efficient. Um, so don't you have to submit? I was talking to Michaela. You have to submit a research statement or something.
Yeah, something like that. I did put it together already, and I found a couple of other sources that I thought would be useful. And then as I thought about them more, they weren't really um, that great. But I have another working list of things that I found that I still have yet to fully go through. Um,
Right.
so I'm kind of still working on that. But some of these are like doozies. I'm finding sources that are good, but they're like full chapters of books and things
No,
like that.
no, 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 no.
So
Yeah, yeah. So there is a lot of there's a lot of work out there. The idea is to um, channel down into what you want to talk about and then stick to it.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was telling Michaela, and I'll tell you the same thing. Um, as part of your introduction, okay, you want to include something that I call the magic paragraph. Okay, and so the idea of a magic paragraph, and I'll explain to you in just a second. Um, the idea of a magic paragraph is essentially a, a one-stop shop of what your project is about. Okay, so what that helps the audience is as part of the introduction when they read what the overall purpose of your paper is and how you want to go about um, discussing or meeting that purpose. It helps them put their arms around your story. That is on their side. On your end, it ensures that you don't go into what we define as scope creep, because it's so easy to get out of um, the context, because there is so much work on sustainability, especially with green supply chains across. Okay, so um, the and so when you discuss the magic paragraph, and I'm going to go into this page here and type. This is acting strangely. Okay. Oh, is your caps lock on?
No.
Okay. So if I'm turning my caps lock on, it's writing in lowercase. If I'm turning it off, then it's writing in uppercase. Do you see that? Okay, so now it has taken in. Good. Okay, good. So magic paragraph. Let's. I think there was a lag in how it was connecting between the two parties. So when I'm seeing my caps on, I'm seeing my caps off there. So, um, so the first line should be the purpose of this paper is whatever that is. Okay, a simple purpose, and that doesn't have to be a research question. In your case, also, you are not necessarily collecting data and doing some analysis based off of a hypothesis. So you're not asking a question. It's a research statement. Okay, and the purpose of this paper in this context would be to do what? Is to um, understand carbon footprint management in the transportation industry and how it has impacted sustainability in supply chains. So that's a very broad, and again, this has been recorded, so you can review what I just said, and it'll help you. So that's the first line of the magic paragraph, and then the next piece of the puzzle in that paragraph is, okay, so now that I have set up my purpose, how do I go about meeting those purposes? Okay, and so so this article uh, discusses and then you talk a little bit about those sections, but then complete that in a couple of lines. Okay, um, the aforementioned purpose, or I should say this article meets the aforementioned purpose um, in the following ways. And this is where you go back to um, talking about um, that you start with discussing current trends, transportation styles, where the growth of transportation has been, how the carbon emission has been affected by the growth, what are the benefits of working towards carbon neutral. Just lay it out, okay? Because then those become successive sections for you eventually, and then um, and then that then becomes the second or third line of the paragraph, and then um, carbon footprint um, optimization models and um, case studies are discussed in the context, right? Because that's basically what you're doing, right? And then um, uh, we conclude with a uh, discussion on whatever that part is. Okay, on where we can go from here. Where do we go from here? What's the next 25 years looking like in the transportation industry? How important is this going to be, and all of that? So not more than 5-6 lines in this paragraph. Okay, but then this paragraph will help you write your abstract, write your summary, reach out to um, the people at the honors thesis course with your research statement or whatever it is, and more importantly, look back at it every time when you are writing the document, because nothing that is not here should be in your rest of the document. So this becomes kind of your one-stop shop, right? And so this becomes part of your introduction. So if you open up the instructions that the thesis team has as part of your introduction, they ask you to summarize the concept. This is essentially that summary aspect that includes your research statement and statement of research and everything else. So if you've already created something similar to that, if you can ship that to me, I can look over it. We'll go through a few iterations via emails and then ensure that the magic paragraph is in place, because that is the starting point. Once this is in place, the rest of your write-up becomes much more easier. You already have a very good start to it. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else that you want to bring to the table in terms of your
Um,
questions?
Not huge. This was mostly just me getting more organized as I'm finding more stuff this week. Um, I'll, I have plenty of things to look through. I know.
Yes, as I
Um,
mentioned, these are the couple of things that you will need. Um,
mm,
make sure that you look up Google Scholar, and maybe that can be our discussion from for next week as to which, maybe you come up with 5 different articles, and then I can
Mhm.
help you understand, okay, what those articles mean, which of those 2 articles should you actually talk about in your
Mhm.
research. Okay,
Yeah,
and so that's one.
absolutely.
And then you need to find um, that specifically with uh, styrofoam um, transport. Look that thing up, and it is somewhere in the web because they are very proud about it. And the other one is um, find a case study with a um, 3PL. So this can be um, FedEx or DHL or UPS. UPS is my starting point here because I think you'll find something interesting with them. And so um, those couple of examples would really drive home the point.
Awesome. I
Okay.
think I can absolutely work with that.
And I like the title. I can't believe I just came up with it. Yep,
No, I was going to say that's really good. I like it a
yep,
lot.
yep, yep. I'm going to stop the recording.